So, hi everybody and welcome back to the Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 52 and in this video we will go through the quick start for AI, for an artificial intelligence. We already set up our own artificial intelligent behavior. If you know, I start fast, so you see our enemy is chasing us, then he performs also an active so attack and so on. And now we want to see what is the difference when we use a behavior tree. First of all, we go to the documentation, the official documentation, and in the documentation, Unreal Engine 5 here in artificial intelligence, in behavior tree quick start, I will go now and create this quick start and explain it a little bit. Of course, I will not read all here. That you can do on your own, of course. I will show you only what they are doing, and we will compare it at the end, but not in this video because this quick start example is a little bit long. There is also a coding section. This coding section we will do later. Okay, let's get started. So here are some requirements, and these requirements are just that we copy the character which we already had here, which means I create a quick start folder in my artificial and I copied my enemy character here. This was the same like we did here. I just duplicate this one, copied it here, and I deleted all the code because we need nothing for our AI. The only thing what we need here on the left side is the standard things, the mesh. You can see it here on the viewport, and the movement component. And I can still change here the mesh if I want. So let's continue. Okay, we have now created our AI and I moved it to my quick start folder. I already created the other ones too, but I will explain them when we are there. All right. Let me switch this and switch this. So the next thing is they just created it, and that's here is a different. This AI control, this AI, this behavior tree, what they are using later, they need a controller and they call it an AI controller. That is new. So how we create an AI controller? Right click, we go to artificial intelligence. And that was not the place, sorry. We go to blueprint classes, and here down in all classes we write AI, and then you can see here pops up this AI controller. You click on it, select it, create it. I have already created it, so I delete this and open my AI controller up. I called it AIC because AI controller, AI, and then C for controller, and then the name of my character, so I know they are connected. It's for this character here. Perfect. Let's go on. That's standard. And then we have here just created a controller, and then in the controller we have changed a little bit the walk speed. No, that was in the character actually. So they reduce the walk speed. You can reduce the walk speed so the AI walks slower than you. You are faster as your player character. That's not very important to show here. And then what we did here, this is specified. Oh, that's important. And after we created this AI controller, we have, of course, to assign to our character, to our player character, this controller, because when you copy it, it has anything here. Let's see. We go here to the controller section. It should be on pawn. Perhaps I find it here. No, I go here on top and then I write here controller, and then it jumps to the pawn in section AI controller class, and then you have select this created AI controller what you have created, right? Because we will use our own controller here for the AI. That's it. Let's continue. And then they place this actor to the world. No, then they just added the nav mesh bounce volume, and we already know what this is. The nav mesh bounce volume, you can see it's the green thing here, which we already added in our last video. So you should know what this is. And I continue, they scaled it, and then it's finished. So that was just a setup for this character. So what they need. And important, the difference was this AI needs a AI controller. In our setup, what we had before, we made all with the controller which was there. So let's continue. We are setting up a Blackboard setup. So this Blackboard system is new, and now we learn this. First of all, we create a Blackboard. How we create it, it shows here artificial intelligence, and then you go here to the Blackboard and you create it. So you create this one. I already created here one. Where is this? I don't know. I watched this one time. So you go here to the artificial intelligence, you click Blackboard, and then you can see you can create it. And I deleted it again. And here I have created it and I called it BB. BB stands for Blackboard. And then I called it again enemy AI2 because it belongs to my character here, this enemy AI character. I open it up, and what you see here now are two parts. One part on the left side, there we can add this these things here. If you are no programming, you absolutely know what these are. These are some basic keywords which can be used. Not all are keywords, but most of them, and some objects and some vectors. And these things we are using in gaming a lot. So, and we can add them here. Why we can add them here? We will use them here for tracking values. Tracking values means the AI is moving or has seeing my character, and all the settings we will save as a variable and track this variable. So let's see what they say. So we create the Blackboard here. We create first of all an object, and then we create here this enemy actor object, they say. Then you set the object here to the actor, because this enemy actor will be us probably. Also, I mean our player character. Our player character is an actor, so that fits. And then we continue a little bit, and then we create the next value, which is this bool value, a boolean. You should probably know what a boolean is. If not, no problem. A boolean means only yes or no, which means it can have only this two values. And when you name the boolean very good, like here, has a line of sight, then you can answer this question here. Has line of sight? Yes. Good. Then you set it to yes. No. Then you set it to no. So the naming of this boolean makes the life much easier. Then we continue. Then they create another value, which is a vector. So let's show here when we go down a vector. And a vector is just a variable with three number values. What I mean with that is when we go here fast and top and go to my go to this transform. Here it says, for example, location. Actually, these 3 points here, which you can see, are in programming called a vector with 3 numbers which you can type in. Then a rotation is also a vector with 3 numbers you can type in. And but vector is just general, and here it's a little bit specified to with naming and so. But they are vectors actually too. They are 3 vectors with 3 values. And where are we? We are here, and here we are creating again a vector. And when we read the name again here, patrol location, so it will be a vector for a location, and a location, when we watch this one again, you can see location has all time 3 values, and that's it what they are creating, not more and not less. But because later they will determine where the AI should walk, and we need all time set new locations, and these 3 vectors are the way to do so. Okay, let's go. Oh, we are already finished with our second step, which means we have set up this Blackboard And the Blackboard, they say, but here's a problem at this point when we set up the Blackboard. What is the problem? When we watch here on the right, we have created a Blackboard, but here is an option for behavior tree, but we can't select it anyhow. And the reason is we have to create it and connect it together. So let's go on. We save all. And we have to create more. And we start with this behavior tree layout. So what they do is now we create a behavior tree, and it shows here. We go again to artificial intelligence, right click it and create a behavior tree. I already did this. So you go again here, right click it, artificial intelligence behavior tree, and then you name it. I named it here. Let me delete this one here, this one, behavior tree BT, and then again my name for this character, so I know this belongs all together, this group here for this one character. And yeah, and let's see, this behavior tree is very important and we have to learn something there. Let's open this first up to see how the behavior tree looks. Okay, I have already done here a little bit stuff, but before we go on here, we are normally here on top at the root. That what you see here is that what I already done. Normally you start here on top with the root, and then you see you have here one place where you can do something, and you see also why it's called a behavior tree. This structure, when it is branching here, 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 it has something like a tree, but on the inverse, I would say, because you have to turn this structure and it looks then more like a tree. Okay, and so enough for this. Let's continue here. This is the start point when you create this behavior tree. But this root is the root for the tree itself to set up all that what you can see here. On the right, you see again just details panel where you can set up details, and here the Blackboard. And that's interesting. This Blackboard here, we have to assign. Normally you have to go click here on the root, then go here to this Blackboard asset and assign the right one, because we have I have only one here. It's very easy, but if you have here many, then you have to assign the right one. And if you do so, then this Blackboard here on the bottom is updated with the things what we created before. These variables we created, right? And you can see now we have these variables here also to use. So we can use it there. All right, let's go on. And then here comes a very important section. You can select there something. You have a selector, a sequence, and a symbol. That is very important, that you should read and understand this very well, because these are the main things what you will use. For example, let me make here an example before we go down. So I can drag off from this root here, again arrows, and then you see from the root I have these three options: the selector, the sequence, and the symbol. The selector, let me click this one, is like it in the description says, it will select one of the branches which you can create here, and then it will go from left to right, executes from left to right. I will show you it in a moment what I mean with that. And let's show it directly why I make this one. Now I made crap. So here I go here down and I created a selector, right? And now this selector, you can see, can also have branches, but important is this selector will execute from left to right most time, right? So when you have here anything very important, then put it on left, and that will check first. After this one, it will try to go here. After this one, it will try to go here. But when we read here what it says, what does the selector, when the selector fails, that's very important, or when it succeeds. For example, the selector will stop moving between subtrees when they find a subtree they successfully execute. So with other words, If he can execute one of them successfully, it is stopping. It will not go to petrol and it will not go to wait. But if it fails one of them, it will go to the next, try this one, and then try this one, and so on. So that's for the selector. The sequence on the other side, here I have used some sequence. From the selector, I have a sequence, and the sequence indicates also from left to right. It starts from left, then it goes to this one and to this one, and it's a little bit, it's different from the selector because it will fail. If one of these branches fail, this sequence is stopping. That's important because this is not like the selector. That means if, for example, this chase player stops, it will not go here, it will go back to the root here. All right, let's go one more sim. We have a simple parallel node. This one we have not even used. And let me add this one fast and say simple parallel. You can read it, of course. You have one main task and you can make another task, a side task to the main task, which will be tried to execute parallel. But yeah, we use it not here. Let's skip this, and you can read a little bit more in detail here and try to figure this out. We continue. That was okay, and then what they are doing actually is just creating the whole tree, what comes next here. So first of all, they go here down, created a new root. Why they created here a new root as a selector? Because the question is, we have already a root, because they say this one is the real root of this behavior tree. So let's say this chase player fails, it will jump to this root, and then it goes to this part, because from left to right tries to do this one. If this fails, it goes here, wait, and then it goes, yeah, we will see where it goes then. And then, so they create a root and they rename. Okay, one more thing. If you create this, for example, you go to selector, then you create this root. The naming, you can't name them here. You have to go here to the right side and name them here. So I created this root already. Let's continue. And let's see what we have there. Then they created this sequence, what I said you, and then they created what they created then, and sets here some options. This is not very big. You can see here they rename it to choose player. Just name this one. Then let's go here a little bit more, what they did here. And then they created a petrol, which means they created again a sequence. Very important. Sequence means when one fails, it jumps back to this one here on top, not to the petrol itself. It jumps to the top, to the parent. The selector would jump. Yeah, we will see this in a moment. Read this and figure this out. So let's continue. So here we go, here creating some sequence again. We learned this, and here some numbers are very important, and these numbers are indicating how these are executed. For example, I have here a 5, right? Here is 6, then 7, then 8. So this one is trying to do this in this order. Let's say if I would go here, look what happens. 5, 6, 7. So the number changed. That's why it's very important that you all time think about the rule left to right, because on the left it will be all time executed before the other ones here which follows. And the same goes here too. I start here 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and the 0 is on top, and so on. All right, the numbers is okay. And here we learn something new, a task. What is a task here? For example, they create here a wait task. Task is the next thing what we can create. So for example, I drag here out, and you see I have here 2 options. from this node, from the root node. The one is what we already learned right now, is selector, sequence, simple parallel, but the other one are tasks. So what the hell are tasks actually? Tasks are later things what we can program in code. This one, for example, can I open this one here up? No. But later we will create our own task and open them up and add them here. For example, this one I have created, and you see I could with double click open it up, and it looks like event graph here, just like a coding. I have here again my event graph and my some options here to code a little bit, and strange have a detail panel. We will see when we come there. So, and yeah, so how we create a task again? We may go in task. There are some predefined tasks around this one here down, and the two one here on top actually I created, so we can create our own tasks too. So the predefined tasks are probably not accessible here because they are written in C++. I'm not sure. Perhaps they are accessible. And this one, which we are created, are of course accessible. So let's continue and see what they are doing. They created a predefined task wait. Wait means here the character, for example, let me show you this too fast. He should chase the player, and if he can't see the player, he should patrol. And if both if the selector can't execute this one, can't do this one, then he goes to the wait. And here are the subtrees, which means how he is patrolling. First he will find a random patrol point, then he will move to one of these points, then he waits a little bit, and then he will find again a patrol point and then move to the next point and waits again a little bit, something like that. And here for the chase player, similar like that. Let's go on, and we see the next thing on top is what I said. You can create your own task, but not only your own task. We can create our own decoder and service when we learned what they are. Right now here on top, even a new Blackboard, interesting. We click on this one, and then there is one which is the base. In my case, this top one is the base one, and the other ones which you see here, I already created one. You just click the base, and then it opens up and says where you want to save it, and then you rename this a little bit. And I created already 2 tasks. You can see it, the blue ones here, like a blueprint, and it calls here behavior tree task, and then here one is the chase player, and then the other one which I created here is find random player, right? So, and when I go back here, and then you can open them in your folder, because you see they look like normal blueprints, but they are special behavior tree task blueprints. And we can double click, and like I showed you before, we can later code, and we have to code later, but we will do the coding section in the next video, because this is also a little bit, I would say, not difficult, but long. Yes. And then we go to the next thing, and then they create just a chase player task, which means they are just creating this task here. And then they calling this task, because here they want, for example, here they are calling it actually. So I added here, I went to the task. After you create it, you can set this up. And then the nice thing is you can use your own defined behavior to your AI. That's very nice, right? Later, it's absolute fine. And then after that, what they do here, they create this, they add this to the right place. This is just that what you see here anyhow. And then they are creating again a task, in this time find random patrol. Yeah, and then they add this. This adding is very important, right? I said, because later the selection thing will depend where you put them. but this one for later. And then what they set here a little bit some options here for the wait, for how long it waits, and the division. Sometimes it waits a little bit longer, sometimes less, it says here. And actually that was it for the first setup, because now we have finished tilde point 3, and what comes next here is more a code setup. Let me show you this fast, which we are going to do next. We will set up a little bit coding, the task which we created, and then we will build up some references and some functions, and you see it's a coding section then, but it's not, and then we assign them and talk a little bit more again. But of course you can go to the site here. I will link it in the video below and read that through and make it here on this site, because it's very detailed, explained all what you have to do. And yeah, and later we will compare this to our simple one and see when to use this one and when to use a simple one. And with this set, ready for the next video with coding, because this was more set up just how to use it, but next time we will learn how to code all these things, these blueprints, what we created here, and yeah, the behaviors. Okay then, bye and good luck. One more thing, and if you have any questions, like all time, write it in the comments. I try to answer them, but should be very easy here because you have just to follow the quick start. Okay, see you in the next. Bye.